Raise your horns high and let your spirit flow. It's the classic metal wrap-up show. Feel the rush, let the loudness grow. It's the classic metal wrap-up show.
All right, so you're in a different place that you normally are. It looks like, but
Yeah, we got a little bit of a different setup here. I'm going to try to make this work as best as I can for the classic metal wrap-up show. But yeah.
well, lots to tackle. I know we had something originally planned, and we're gonna shelve that for a little bit and talk about the show because over the past few weeks, number of weeks, couple of months, I mean, it's really been a bore fest. And even it wasn't much of an improvement last night, but there were so many discrepancies throughout that it was probably worth just doing an all wrap up show on the specific show. I know sometimes we deviate from that and cover other stuff, but and news items and stuff like that. But this one was at the tail end better. I know they're in the beginning hour. It's always the same stuff, and times flies, and it's 6 months into the year already, and before you know it, we'll be waving goodbye to 2025. You know, it's all this typical nonsense.
Yep. And the same old tech issues.
Same old tech issues, which again, it goes back to
just,
like a mechanic whose car keeps breaking down, right?
Yeah, and again, this is because let's just get real here. They just don't want to pay the fees to have StreamYard. They don't want to pay the Zoom fee or whatever fee. I mean, I don't know, a Rumble premium. I don't know what. Obviously,
Right.
we're doing on Rumble last night. I don't know if that's a premium feature. We don't use Rumble. We don't go live, so I'm not
Right.
I'm not tech guy. I'll just look at the camera and say I'm not a tech guy.
Right.
But for them to have a guy in-house claiming he owns a tech company and then he's going to build all this shit, and then it's like, dude, okay, well then wait till it works before you launch, dog. The rest of us are
Right.
listening to you burp during commercials. Neely's
Yeah.
cameras turn on and off. It's happening on my Rumble channel that shouldn't be happening. You're coming into the reads for the commercial breaks early and sitting there on the camera with your looking face, dude, I'm waiting.
Right.
Which, by the way, without you without facial hair,
Yeah.
is like evil without facial hair.
Well,
You're never going to see it again in Evil's case. I don't care how badly I butchered the fucking beard job. I would just handle the butcher job until it all.
Not to rail on the guy because we really don't have any issues with Chris. He's just collateral damage to the association with Neely. But man, he looks like a corpse that just got shaved at the mortuary prepping for the embalmment. I mean, put the hair back on the face. I mean, you talk about somebody that needs facial hair, he would be one of those guys.
Yeah, us bigger guys need the facial hair for sure. And I feel bad for him. I feel like he just bites off more than he can chew, bro. Because it's like running the CMS is its own fucking cluster F from hell. Again, is what it seems like for him.
It goes back to the one thing I've said for a long time. You've heard this, and other people have heard it on that Facebook page that he's kind of spread himself thin. I mean, if he was doing a couple shows and concentrated on making those the full-time thing and put all the emphasis on that, I think he'd be doing pretty well. But he's spread himself too thin. He's overextended himself, and it shows.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, he should have either been all CMS or all cap and just do one or the other and focus on that and then run your IT stuff on the side or whatever behind the scenes. But doing both of those and then the Seth thing and then running the thing and then I can imagine. And so I'm not blaming him. I'm just saying, hey, dude, like, I don't know how long we were waiting for the thing to even get fired up last night. And then when it did, it was wonky and weird and there's reverbs and things happening, things coming and going. And so I'm just saying, then just use Rumble or just, I know you're so anti these platforms there, but obviously they work for a reason and there's people using them for a reason. And if you're collecting all the shekels on the locals, then you should be able to pay the StreamYard fees and just use StreamYard. It was working before, right? So I don't understand what the need to change it up. You don't have to be Aiken IT's launching Zoom platform, Aiken
Hmm.
IT launching Spotify platform. You don't have to do that, dude. And then that
Right.
creates more work for you. And then when it doesn't run right, it doesn't look bad on you, but
Right.
makes everybody else who's sitting there in the chat
I
room and
wonder,
Neely's waiting around.
I wonder what kind of conversations they have off camera. I mean, Neely doesn't come off as a guy that's going to keep his trap shut because he's bankrolling the whole fucking thing. He's like, you're making me look like an idiot.
Yes, but Aiken would be able to look right across the table and say, well, when you know, espouse these things
Yeah,
that you
right.
think you know, and they're
Right.
completely off base, and sometimes just flat out like a Google search would prove you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. And I'm not knocking them. We were sitting off air, and I'm gonna say here, I don't expect Aiken or Wendell to be the be all end all of
Oh
all
no.
things rock. That's impossible.
Right.
There's a reason why there was a stump the trunk, and even Eddie lost sometimes, and Eddie knows a lot of shit.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is that if you don't know, they just say, I don't know. I don't know
Right.
that band, so I can't speak to that and what they're
Sure.
doing or this out.
Or,
The whole, we'll start with what the first thing I heard last
but
night that
wait, but wait.
that baffles me. But
We have to go back to the loss of credibility because remember when they were talking about David Draymond, he's not really a singer. And it's like, he sounds like a singer to me.
he's fronting, I don't know. And this, if they went out on tour today, would they not be
Hmm.
one of the top 10 or 20
Sure.
overall concert draws for the United States of
With,
America in
with or,
arenas?
yeah, with or without a new album. I mean, they're just that
Yeah,
well known.
they're yeah, and they would go out there and headline and sell out thousands of tickets and make money. And so, to me, yes, he's a singer. Again, what I don't know, like where does that center from? Where
Well,
is that not? Does he not like the band, so then he's just
yeah.
going to knock the guy or whatever? I don't know. I mean, but you can't. Again, even if you're not in a Disturbed, you'd have to say, well, let me look at the band's ticket sales,
Right.
venue sizes, da da da, and they're up there every time, bro. So.
What's just real quick? I know you may or may not keep up with Trunk. I do. I have been more so since the Sabbath show, just because he was basically excluded. Um, one of the guests he had this week was Mariah. Now, what's your take on that? Because there wasn't any Plush mentions this time, and that was interesting. That was pretty telling because it had been leading up to this. It seems like Plush had got brought up almost for the last 2 3 weeks with the Neely and Aiken, and she makes it onto Trunk and not a mention of it. You would figure they would have broken that down like they overanalyze everything.
Well, they don't want to probably shed light on the fact that maybe Trunk is actually bigger than Charlie Kendall.
He's the
They're
all
still,
knowing, all
yeah,
being when it
yeah,
comes to
yeah.
metal.
So to them, and so yeah. But and then Mariah, good on her. That's where Plus should be with a national show that's going to actually, talk about credible rock music things and
And
help her
he doesn't
advertise
say
what she's
sexist and racist shit.
racist and to help her plug what she needs to plug, which is the
Right.
point of her doing this is a business thing for her to get the word out that they're doing shows or an album or a single or whatever these bands are doing. So
Not asking stupid questions like, so Mariah, have you ever caught Bella in the middle of an undress in the green room,
well,
dressing
he
room?
would, and you also know he would go straight to the well,
Yeah,
Mariah, I heard that you talked to Chris, and a few suggestions from a couple of wise men on the
right,
classic metal show, and I think that you guys changed your outfits, and now you guys are right in lockstep with how you should look, and
right.
we definitely approve, and that's because you're on the CMS, right? CMS, well,
That's
we're the
it.
CMS.
They didn't
So,
steal that idea from the Warrant. You know how they'd almost dressed
yeah.
alike and or any of the
Yeah.
other '80s
Or the
bands.
band.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And, and,
Oh
and,
boy.
and it's such a hard thing for bands to look at each other and go, hey, let's wear matching shirts tonight.
Sure.
That's not
Right.
some new fucking concept.
Yeah.
So, no, Mariah, go to the Trunk. If you have to, go to Charlie Kendall's metal shop. Don't go to the CMS.
Yeah.
And if you have to go to the CMS, come to the wrap up show. Well, the wrap up show is where you should come on.
I don't think she's going back to the CMS to tell you the truth. I mean, if she was gonna, she would have shown up on Cap already.
And that's another thing is like, let's just you kind of, again, like Evil keeps saying it, but the know your role and kind of shut your mouth, dude. Like there's
Right.
a stepping stone in the
Mm-hmm.
radio hierarchy, and
Right.
as they are on the lower thing, they're going
Yeah.
to do the community radio station. Anyone
Yeah.
will have them on, and they get the local rock DJ who spins their record. They talk to him for a while, and then pretty soon there's someone on a major station in a bigger city that's up the state or whatever, and they're doing that. That's the way it works, dude. And
Right.
then once they get up there, they're up there. And if you
Mm-hmm.
get lucky, once in a while they'll throw you a breadcrumb and call you or check in with you, but they're probably going to be up there. That's the way it works, doing their
Right.
shit. And
Yeah.
for them, it's income, bro. So that's what it boils down to. It's nothing personal. It's a job.
Mm-hmm.
It's an income. And so they have to go to the biggest player, the biggest fish to get the word out there. So, and guys blasting the N word and
Yeah.
rattling on about Jennifer Love Hewitt's fat behind, which regardless of whether it is or isn't fat, that's a very subjective, objective opinion there, pal.
Right.
Like there's like so many dudes that would line up regardless of what you say, Neely. And just,
Isn't it interesting that, again, these guys rate women, but regardless of what kind of shape Jennifer Love Hewitt, for bad or good. I mean, we know she's full figured. Does she look bad? No, I don't think so. But having said that, would either of those two ever even remotely stand a chance in like sweet talking her? I don't think so either.
No.
So I don't get it. It's like they're bitter.
See what
dudes
the only
that can't get women.
the closest the closest the CMS can get to her is that Chris Aiken was in the radio station when she was there to do some other show. That's as close as they're going to get.
And I don't even know that that's true.
Yeah. Or maybe Evil will get the call to be her personal bodyguard at some red carpet event, and there'll be a sweet sign of my big face behind her shoulders, making sure the paparazzi stays away. But that's about as close as you're going to get there, boys and ladies and gentlemen, to any CMS being anywhere near Jennifer Love Hewitt. She's a TV movie star who doesn't, again, associate with such knuckleheads.
She can't
who are
be
commenting
bothered.
about her being a mom and putting on a few lbs during the course of motherhood, which is normal, and any other heterosexual normal above 35-year-old man is going to not give a shit. It's Jennifer Love Hewitt, and I'm up in it.
Do you listen to the reference points are always about how hot she was when she was younger, in like barely, early adulthood, like barely legal age.
Well, that's one of the behind the scenes jokes between myself and Andrew, and I think you caught wind of that, was my commentary about the old barely 18 back in the 80s and 90s. They had this magazine subscription, ladies and gentlemen, for the old dirty purrs, barely 18, and Neely would have been a prime subscriber in Hollywood in the late 80s to barely 18.
Right. Ugh.
That's just right up his alley. And so that's what I'm saying. And hey, again, there's we can all say in this country there's a legal line that he can do whatever he wants.
Mm-hmm.
If he wants to be a fucking freak, be a fucking freak. But he doesn't absolve him from being called a freak.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he doesn't like. Like anyone points out that that's fucking weird. And then I want to get to this because it's just like stuck in my head. This guy goes on and on about his lack of knowledge of Jane's Addiction.
Yeah.
His idea that, and when he rated them as a band, if you're saying overall in the scheme of rock and music or whatever, let's just say rock music, guitar driven, whether it's alt rock, metal, 80s rock, this rock, that rock, stoner rock, sludge rock, whatever you're into, let's just say it has a distorted guitar. It's not pop, it's not rock, it's not country. Jane's Addiction is a B, maybe a C level band in that range. Of course, there's much bigger bands and there's much smaller bands. But to not understand that, a $10 million lawsuit, that's probably what the band was going to earn from a long-term tour and an album and merchandise and all the shit they lost during the course of this event. Especially because, as you know, they were literally they were working on the new song. They had on their shit. I saw Eric Avery was in there writing shit, preparing to sing, which is what we all need, because that's what makes Jane's Addiction. And for those of you though that don't know Jane's Addiction, I kind of do. I do like them. And the bottom line is that was going to be a decent reunion, an album, videos, multiple tours, as you know, probably in different countries around the world, doing festivals in Europe and probably with Australia. And they're going to make money, dude, merchandise and gig money all the way around. And so, $10 million is probably what Eric Avery, Eric Perkins, and Navarro lose when fucking this jack-off decides to fucking $2 or $3 million a piece because this guy's being a numbnuts and fucking the whole process up. So why is that out of line? I don't think that's out of line. And
that's
as we
realistic.
both know, as we both know, the lawyer is going to jump it up by a couple of million, knowing they're going to settle back down for 5 or 6 million and give each one of those guys $1 million a piece. And Mr. Lollapalooza, which is what the lawyer's thinking, hey, he's got money somewhere from all this
Sure.
shit. So, and it's his own doing. Let's be straight. That's Perry's own doing. I mean, he used to be a drug addict. Let's call it a spade a spade. He's now an alcoholic, and that's why he's acting that way. And Dave Navarro doesn't control the sound, and there's Eric Avery or Perkins, and that's on him being a drunk idiot. And he's the weak link. Whichever the singer is the weak link, they start lashing out at the other guys around him. Don. So I'm just saying, I'm just going to call a spade, dude. Yeah. And that's what singers do when they start losing their voice and they can't perform because the physical thing of the voice doesn't work like a guitar on a hand, like a bass player or a drummer going like this. So then they freak out and then they blame everybody around them rather than go, it's my voice. I can't do it.
Yeah.
Got to adjust, got to cut back, got to do this, got to change the set list, boys, whatever. They don't want to do that. Their ego won't let them. So that's where Perry Farrell's at. And so the fact that Neely's ignorant of all that is kind of ridiculous. I mean, that just shows you where he's at. I mean, if it's not straight 1988 to 84, he's not a 80s metal. He's not listening to it. So, but as you know, Ruben, by 1988, one of the biggest bands in Los Angeles was who?
88?
Jane's,
Jane's Addiction. They were. I think the expectation was that you know how Guns N' Roses blew up. I mean, I think the plan was for the label had high hopes that they'd be like that.
But they were already on. They were already on heroin.
Yeah, but you know, at their peak for their third album, the Ritual. Record, I saw them on the Lollapalooza tour. That was their peak, and they never really recovered after that. I mean, they just kind of fizzled, which is too bad because they were a great live band. I don't know that I'd see them now. I mean, Perry kind of did that whole thing to his face. I mean, he can't sing. He doesn't look human. I don't know that I want to watch that.
Yeah, absolutely. But to ignore the fact that, like I was saying, when they did Strays, which is about 20 years ago, right, 2004 or 2 or 5, somewhere in that range, they sold out Shoreline, which is 20,000 people, dude. And Dawkins ain't done that forever, and not even in the 80s.
Not on their own. But I think what he forgot to mention is they're basically classic rock now. I mean, you can listen to a classic rock station and they'll play something from Nothing's Shocking, probably Mountain Song, and probably a couple things off the Ritual. You know,
once in a while you'll hear Jane says, he'll stop, you'll hear Been Caught Stealing. If you get lucky and you got a DJ who knows this shit, you'll hear Ocean Size. But the bottom line is, again, and then Mr. Neely, you claim you know Tens. Well, if you know Tens and you know who Dave Navarro is, because all he gets is Tens, dude. He forgets. Like I said to Adri, forgot more Tens than your eyes have ever even looked at.
Right.
Bro. And so, I'm just saying. And so, like, come on, just know your role, dude. These dudes. Yeah. When you're Perry Farrell, Lollapalooza, it keeps happening. It's been happening on and off for fucking 30 years. So apparently it makes money somewhere for somebody. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't go to these big places for 2 days and have all these bands, dude.
Here's what makes me think that they're really clueless. The last few Lollapaloozas where they've been just located in a central stationary place has been Chicago. That's like right underneath their fucking nose. And they're totally clueless.
And go look at the ticket sales.
Right.
Really, you don't think that there's money being made there and Perry's not getting a small percentage for being the guy who created this whole idea? Come on, dude. So even if they bought him out, I'm sure there's still other naming rights and things that he possesses because Perry's not an idiot. That's how he makes his money, bro.
Sure.
That's how he affords the facelift and the Asian wife who looks like a stripper.
That isn't cheap,
on, bro.
Jeez.
Yeah. So I mean, and if you watch any of those shows where he was on the TV show, remember with the wives?
Oh yeah, right.
If you watch it, you see his house and lifestyle. This isn't a guy who's fucking in the bread line, bro.
I challenge you to do something. Did you ever? Shit, what was the name of the band? He was in a band, Satellite Party. I think that's the name.
I've heard of it.
Have you heard of them? And do you remember who the guitar player was in that band? Who was the guitar player in that band?
No, I want to say the bass player was one of the guys they had used in Jane's, but who was the guitar player?
I'll have to look, but I believe the guitar player was Nuno, Betancourt in that
Oh,
band.
it might have been.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I think he split shortly thereafter for the same reasons that I think Perry. I mean, he's probably just hard to work with. But that was one of those bands that I was willing to give a chance, kind of like Porno for Pyros. The first record
Yeah.
was pretty
Those
decent
are
because it
good.
was just kind
Yeah.
of an offshoot of Jane's Addiction, and then that went to
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah. And I'm not, I'm just saying that like if you were right then, right now, if they were to go out and do what they're about to do versus what Dawkins going to go out and do tomorrow or the next 6 months on a tour, it's like not even in comparisons. One's a D league at best, maybe
Yeah.
fucking F league, and these guys are up here in C or B earning money for
Eh,
managers and people that want to actually put them on the road. And some they probably wouldn't play arenas; they're going to play some sheds or some theaters or this and that and the other. They get some festival appearances, but still, they're going to make dough, dude.
What do you? Let's say the Janes guys get mm, let's say just some singer out of nowhere, kind of like Stone Temple Pilots did, right? They'd sell bigger venues than than Dokken, right? I mean, I think that's
Still,
clear, right? I
yes,
mean,
they can get a
even
replacement singer with a new band name. If it was Eric Avery, Perkins, and Navarro, there's guys like me who would say, especially if they got a good singer, I'm gonna go check that out. And
yeah,
yeah, they probably could do 2,000 seat places, no problem, everywhere they go and sell them out and make money. So,
yeah. I
and I
mean,
don't think
again,
Dawkins going around selling out 2,000 seats every single
no,
night. That's
no.
not happening.
I mean, they're at the Whiskey selling what 400 tickets, maybe.
Yeah. And I know that I looked up because when they first launched, before the fight happened, one of the venues I looked at that they were playing was a 10,000
Hmm.
seater. No one would even consider booking Dawkins and five of those 80 fans probably in that
Well,
size
sure,
of venue. You have to have a festival or something going on, right?
right.
So that's just not, and that's with Jane's as a headliner and maybe an opening band.
Hmm.
So what that's just they were not. These are not apples and oranges even. They're just
Right.
like fucking apples and dog shit.
Apples and
I mean,
dog.
if you're
Yeah, right.
if you're money if you're a manager, if you're
Yeah.
making money, if you're the merch guy, you're who's going to move some shit
I
here over the course. How many's going to play dates and get
well,
around the world enough
but
for us to make money?
you
This is
listen to the
not
guy.
Dawkins.
You listen to him. I think he had just because he's got a little bit of a foot in the door with Don. He thinks he's like Mister. He thinks he's like Scott McGee. What is it? Is it Scott McGee? Right?
Oh, Doc McGee.
Doc McGee. Doc McGee.
Yes.
I'm
Well,
sorry.
Scott McGee is his son, I believe, actually. But
Yeah,
he's now taking
there you
over the
go.
company. Yeah.
But anyways,
Yeah.
Doc, he thinks he's Doc McGee, which kind of leads into the Kiss in Vegas Invasion, now landlocked cruise, whatever the fuck they're calling it, and he
Yeah.
was rattling off numbers and figures, and he's like Mr. Know-It-All.
Okay. Yeah, and then let's go one thing. Another thing that blew Evil's mind that you can just like he even said it and then contradicted himself.
Right.
So they play Paul Stanley where he says we've sold out 11 straight cruises,
Mm-hmm.
and then Neely goes, well, they're going to take this to Vegas, but they're going to burn out the market and nobody's going to go, not to make the money. I'm like, he just told you they sold out 11
Right.
straight times. What makes you think that this 12th time is going to be the fucking strikeout and Ace and Gene and Paul or whoever is not making money? I
Right.
guess Gene Simmons doesn't do anything that doesn't make money, pal.
Well, here's the other thing that he doesn't know, and if you look into it, basically what it is Kiss sold their catalog and various different things, right, to Pop House, which they've been
They're-
buying up
they're-
all the publishing.
The intellectual rights to
Right.
be Kiss. Yes.
So
Yeah.
it sounds to me like Pop House set up the Vegas Invasion and it wasn't really gathering steam. So I think what happened is McGee and Gene and Paul were like, this is not making us look great. So let's step in and save this thing and we'll brand it as the cruise, because that's what, band versus brand, as what's his face's corpse said before. But,
Yeah.
but anyway, so I think it has more to do with Pop House. So it's not even Gene and Paul, really. I think that what they
No,
stepped
but they're
in to
making
save
money.
their ego.
They're not going to show up
Sure.
without getting paid what
Well,
they need
and
to
they're
get
not,
paid to
and
do
they
what
don't
they
want to
do.
show up to a bunch of empty seats. So I mean, it's
No, they're
both
exactly.
ego and money, right?
Exactly. There's all a vested interest on all fronts. And let's think about this. Okay, let's again put it in perspective. You're Gene Simmons. You're 75 plus.
Right.
Do you want to go get on a boat and roll around the
Yeah.
fucking water with these fucking people right with
Yeah.
my face all the time? I can't even get to the fucking buffet without. I gotta have room service because I can't even go out my door
Right.
without some
You're
kiss card
prisoner.
showing me a mask.
You're a prisoner.
Jumping. Some guy's gonna be fake delivering
Yeah.
you the food just to pull out his Gene Simmons '78 solo album and have you sign it.
Yeah.
So, what I'm saying is the opportunity for them probably to save the face. Well, I mean, I think there was going to be some involvement on some level anyway.
Sure.
Whether there was going to be to what they're doing now remains to be seen. But if you listen to Mark Cicchini and the Three Sides of the Coin thing, there was a lot of talk of stuff going on early on that involved Gene or Paul. So there was going to be appearances and things happening regardless. It's not Kiss if they're not there, right? So the point I was going to make is so to them, you have to look at it. So then the opportunity comes, and this is something we can do yearly and put very comfortably in a venue in Vegas where everyone can access it more easily and more people can honestly attend. And we don't got to go on a international waters or risk fucking Somali pirates, right? You know, I mean, whatever that might come, you know, coronavirus or some shit, right? We're old. We want to stay where we can go to the suite at the top of the Virgin where Paul Stanley's going to have the shit fucking laid out and he goes back downstairs and he goes back upstairs and that's it.
You want to die like John Entwistle.
Yeah, exactly. And hey, everyone can laugh at that, but John Entwistle went on like a champ. He had multiple ladies, some cocaine, in a hotel in Vegas for multiple days, living like a king. There's no one at that age, at 60-something, to be like, "Oh, that's a horrible way to die."
What a shitty way to die. Yeah,
he lived and died like a rock star, like John Entwistle was. And like, if you ever watch any interview with him, that's exactly what you would probably expect. That or a car accident or something crazy.
Sure.
You know, he's not gonna he understood that this is my lifestyle. This is what I do, and I'm not changing for anyone.
He wasn't gonna slip in the shower, tripping over his Saint Bernard.
No. John was probably at some point in time going to have one too many parties because he liked to party. That's what he said all the way to his old age. So good for him. That's what he wanted to do. So, but the point I was trying to make is, so for them, yes, Doc McGee, Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons, this is going to make money and this is going to happen next year because it made money. So don't be surprised. Don't think they're going to let's go to that carries me to the next one. Another one where you just don't really know what you're talking about. I kind of agree with Aiken on this. I think Steve Miller is bowing out because the orange man's in the fucking White House and the shit's not the way he wants it to be where he wants to go. Yeah. I know enough. I love Steve Miller. Love his music. I've seen him in concert multiple times. Let me tell you something. I saw him less than 8 years ago, and Lake Tahoe sold out. It's not a lack of ticket sales, buddy. I hate to break it to you. Peter Frampton and fucking Steve Miller sold out the place. And I'm sure he can get a partner like that again and do the same thing if that's what he has to do. He doesn't want to go tour in America when there's riots in LA and ice guys banging people here and floods over there and fucking hurricanes over here and the West is on fire. And quite frankly, if I'm 80-year-old Steve Miller who's got 30-40 million in the bank, I'm not looking for any reason to get back in a bus or an airplane and go deal with all that shit myself either. I might just sit this summer out. We'll see how it looks next year. Thanks. Which is kind of what I took from the message. If you know Steve Miller, the way he spoke to people at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, it tells you how he is. He kind of does wear it on his sleeve, and when he gets a little pissy, he's going to let you know. And so I don't buy. Could there have been some venues that were soft? Possibly, but if he goes to overall the amount of dates he's going to do, they wouldn't even offer it to him if he wasn't going to sell the tickets, people. So no, that's another thing where you're just not getting it. Again, how often is Steve Miller played on classic rock radio in 2025 compared to Don Dokken?
And how many songs too? I mean,
like 20. When I went to go see him, it even amazed me because I started thinking,
you start listening to
16 or 18 songs, and every single one has been on the radio in the top 10 or 20. So, like, how many artists can say that? I can give you a full set of top 20 hits. You want to hear it? Here we go. There's not many bands that can do that.
It kind of reminds you of like with what's his face, another sourpuss, Billy Squire. Like, he's made his money off like the samples on his music getting sampled on rap music, right? I mean, it's just like crazy.
Yep. And same with Steve Miller with the Eminem thing. So do you think when he gets handed $10 million for free that he's like, well, let me go out and slave through Donald Trump's hurricanes and floods and beatings and
potential unrest and
No,
people
yeah,
starting shit in the
riot is
city
people,
that he
yeah.
rolls
And let's
into.
just and let's also just be straight. The economy's not really that good. It hasn't been that good.
Mm-mm.
Iceman hasn't been good in fucking 10 years either, really. And so
Well,
it's always been hit and miss. And so
yeah.
some regions people don't have money to go spend $80 to go see Steve Miller again. That's
And
probably true.
I think that kind of,
But here's where hold
yeah.
on, here's where Neely gets it wrong. Steve gets a guarantee. He
Oh
don't
yeah.
fucking care if there's 4,000 or 8,000. That's on
He's
the
still going to get
promoter.
his
That's
money.
on them.
He
I'm gonna
should
get my
know
money
that.
no matter
He
what.
should know
Yeah.
that. He tour
So
manages
Steve's
or
not.
helps fucking Don, right? I mean,
So
he
the
knows that.
worst case, if there was ticket sales, the worst case you'd see is shows would fall off because the promoter would back out of the situation, and Steve
Right.
would say, "We're not doing those 10 dates. We're doing those 25 dates over there." And to Steve Miller, he would just look to 10 more venues and other places and other locations around the globe and replace them. So it's not like, again, it's not really understanding how it's actually
Right.
operating in 2025 and the hierarchy and the where you sit in the pecking order and what you get to do. So
Mm-hmm.
again,
And you're right. I mean, I think some of that is the economy and stuff like that, and just problem cities, areas, because I think there's something to be said about, like we were talking about last week. I think is with all the various different tours skipping Seattle and Portland. I mean,
yeah.
I probably do the same thing. You know, as much as I don't like it, I can see the logic behind it. The economy isn't great, potential unrest, just shit cities. You know, why would you want to
No.
roll into there and ask for trouble?
And if you're Steve Miller, you're going to sell enough tickets so you have to go to pretty major cities, areas where there's a
Hmm.
lot of people. You can't
Right.
just be playing Timbuktu because then you're going to fucking have the money to have you there. So that means you're going to go to Chicago and
Yeah.
LA and San Diego and
Right.
San Francisco. And maybe he don't want to go through the ICE raids and the bullshit and let's put it out this way. Gas right now is, I don't know where you're at, but here in Oregon it's almost $4 a gallon. So who wants
Yeah.
to, the cost of everything. He's just doing the numbers like
Hmm.
any other businessman with his management and going, this is going to be bullshit. And
Hmm.
again, Steve Miller's got to be 80, bro. So he
Hmm.
doesn't want to, and nor should he. He has the money. He
Hmm.
has the catalog. He can wait a year or two if he's still alive and go right back out with 50 more dates, co-headlining with fucking Chicago and fucking sell
Yeah.
out. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So
Or do Vegas. Do Vegas. Can you
yeah,
imagine if he just did Vegas and did like,
and
you know, a couple months here and then took a rest for a couple months, came back, did 2 more
and I
months.
would never be surprised if he did. He
Mm.
was the kind of artist who eventually said, "Yeah, I'm going to do 8 shows in Vegas and 6 in Los Angeles, 4 in Chicago, and 5 in New York City, and then you come see me at these places, and that's where
Right.
I'm at because I ain't going to go around on this shit no more for you."
Yeah.
So, and he's the kind of guy who can afford to fly in and say, I'm setting up residency at the Beacon Theater for New York for 5 straight nights. Come on down, see Steve Miller Band. So, you know, whatever he wants to do, dude, he's Steve Miller. Again, there's certain guys who, when you have a certain amount of clout and dough, even if they didn't want to do it, some promoter, he probably has enough money to just pay for the venue and for the
Right.
show himself. That's what he want to fucking do. He doesn't care.
Yep.
So it's basically a multitude of things. And with Aiken, it's politics too. He doesn't,
Mhm.
and I'm not even saying he might be anti-Orange Man. And if you kind of listen to what he said at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I'm not really sure he's a Democrat. He might just be
Right.
a wild card independent,
Yeah,
like
he's
old
probably
evil
just
here. He just doesn't
a
agree with any of these
libertarian or
motherfuckers.
something.
Yeah, it doesn't agree with any of these motherfuckers because it's all just turned into a big shit show and no one gives a fuck about anything.
Right.
So, and that's kind of probably what Steve Miller would tell you behind the scenes.
Hmm.
So, yeah, so I don't blame him. Again, if you had to earn, you're going to be on tour. If you already got 40 million in the bank and you got 20 platinum albums, I don't know that you're exactly dying to get back out there in this summer heat with this Texas floods and shit happening. People are dying.
Yeah. Yeesh. Yeah, so they got that wrong. But as far as with the Kiss thing, going back to that, what's your
Yeah.
take on no Eric Singer?
I think I'm going to go back to this has to be somewhere in the contracts that to be Kiss has to have these guys and these guys equals that, and they can't do that because they're not doing that, and so to avoid that, I don't know. There has to be some. There would be no other reason to. They're not. I don't think that Eric has done something to get him in the outs. Just
Right.
don't buy that. Eric has
Yeah.
been too much on the ends with Paul Stanley for too
Yeah.
long, and that's who runs the fucking show. That when Doc McGee's gonna get a call, here's how it works.
Mhm.
Doc McGee gets a call from Gene Simmons. It's about how much do we make on How much do we make on? How much do we have inventory on? That's Gene Simmons. He gets a call from Paul Stanley. It's about who said this about that? They're going to be there. I don't want to see them. So this is what he's dealing with, and I'm going to guess that I don't think Singer would get in the doghouse of Paul Stanley because there is no, in my opinion, there is almost no doghouse for Gene Simmons. Your doghouse for Gene Simmons would mean you have to be
Vinnie
on Paul's
Vincent
doghouse. Yeah, you got to be like Eddie Trunk. You're in Paul's doghouse, which means now you are in my doghouse because that's Kiss. But Gene Simmons himself, if he found any reason to make $1 from you or with you, he's going to walk up to you and try and make money with you. That's what he does.
I just think it is interesting that Singer isn't there because if you recall, Paul did was it the 89 solo tour, right? His drummer was Singer. And then
that's what I'm saying.
And then he brought him into Kiss, and then he brought him into that awful fucking Soul Station project.
Soul Station.
Yeah.
Yep. That's what I'm saying. So he's not on the outs. That's not what it is. What it is that if they all four get up and perform, then that is Kiss. And maybe it's just a look. Maybe it's just hey, we said farewell and we meant farewell. So we're not gonna put the last Kiss that was just on stage a year ago back on stage here because that kind of makes it look as wasn't farewell. And no matter how that looks, makeup or no makeup, maybe that's just how they're doing it. Or maybe I still wonder, do we know, are they running acoustic sets? Are they, there's all variables.
Well, I think one's electric, one's acoustic, but I almost believe that what'll happen is they'll probably have Eric pop in for 2 songs. That, you know what I mean? Just as a surprise or something.
I would not put that past them. And I, even with all the turmoil and the issues and the this and the that, me and you both know if the contract was right and the zeros added up, there would be a Peter or an Ace sighting too, because that's just the way it is, dude. It's like these guys are businessmen. They're not fools. And if the money adds up to what they want, they do it. If it don't, they don't, because they don't need to, just like I'm saying with Steve Miller. So I would not be surprised, and that's not just if it goes well this year. It could pop up again next year, and it pops up next year. If Pete's still alive and says, "I'll get up there and do Beth and Hard Luck Woman," they're gonna go, "Okay, acoustic set with Pete for more money. Come down to the Kiss of the fucking
right."
So it's just what they're going to do because, again, they don't, same thing. I don't think at their age they even want it. Now, Gene is a little more willing to go flying around and playing some shows, but has Paul really done anything since? I mean, no, it seems like he's been laying pretty low, doing his art stuff. That's probably what he's in.
Yeah, I think,
art stuff.
We were talking about last week with Greg. He's doing I think Gene's on that classic rock cruise, I believe.
Yeah.
So he's willing to do that. Paul certainly seems like he's fearful of catching a cold. He's just, he's a diva.
Yeah, and I think it gets to a point where, like the cruise thing, it was making financial sense because it was their own cruise and they called the shots and it made their bread. But is any one of those crews hiring them as a headliner going to pony up the dough that those two are going to want to be the headliner on your cruise? I don't know. And that's where we'll get into some things later when we talk about some other topics we'll get into. That when you start talking money wise and looking what your options are, if you were a promoter or a guy booking a show, sometimes it doesn't always make sense to have the whole thing because I'm paying all this and I ain't got nothing left over. It might be easier to just have Ace or just have Gene's band and then hire these other guys because now I got 100,000 left over to pay all these other bands. So and again, it's dollars and cents. We all know. Yeah, McGee is still in it, and with Gene, to call it counting the pennies, bro. If that's happening, then there's money being made, even if it's going to that other people that bought this and that and the other. I guarantee you, they're not standing there for free. They're not.
Yeah, they're not slaves.
There's not. Yeah, there's nothing in that contract that says Doc McGee has to show up every time that whatever Pop House wants to have a Kiss. No, he's got something working in there where he gets paid something, or he's a part of this and getting a percentage, and so therefore he's vested as an interest to go make sure this makes money.
Right. Well, real quick, I know the other thing that they went through the packages. Yeah, some of them are reasonable, but and they were really laying into the more outrageous ones, which with Kiss it always happens. I mean, they do some outrageous shit. And the clones buy it. I mean, the Kiss Tards, right? I
Well,
mean,
that's again, it
they'll.
goes back to it. If there was no market for it,
Hmm.
Gene wouldn't produce it. He wouldn't offer it on the market if zero sold. He would take that off the website tomorrow and have it replaced with something that did sell.
Right.
Same with the packages. If this packages is not selling, well, why? Because it's too much, or it's this or that. But again, this is a guy who's finding people to buy $16,000 used one-time fucking swords or bass guitars and shit that he threw
Or
down in one show.
or the
So
vault. I mean, the
yeah, the
vault, and
vault
that,
for
yeah. I mean, there was
delivered to
some.
your door for 50K, and there was
Yeah.
people getting it delivered to
Hmm.
the door for $50,000 to meet
Right.
Gene and look at a fucking thing full of his worst recordings. So clearly, I guarantee you that premium package he's going, I don't know who wants to pay five. Mark Cicchini probably paid $5,000.
Oh, I'm
You
sure.
know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
there's guys, dude, and so and
Sure.
they got the dough and they don't care, and that Kiss is their thing, and that's what they're gonna do, and that's how. Again, that's how the convention started. It wasn't because Gene and Paul said, let's have conventions for there was a bunch of guys already getting together, looking at
Hmm.
each other's Kiss shit, talking shit with money, having time on weekends to swap shit and this, making money on that, probably selling shit. And I'm saying, dude, so yeah,
Right.
it's business, dude. So yeah, those tickets will sell enough to probably keep it. I'm gonna bet there will be one next year, and until one of these guys really croaks over or something, like
Hmm.
Gene goes down on the stage at the Virgin or something.
Right.
He's there. I just could not see any, barring like Ozzy like incapacity, that Gene is
Oh,
not going to try to make money.
but here's the thing. I
Yeah.
know.
And even then, don't you think Gene's smart enough that somewhere there's a piece of paper that says, "We'll be in there in my wheelchair, and go ahead and put the feeding tube in me, and I will still take photographs and sign pictures for this." I guarantee you, Gene Simmons thinks that way, dude.
Did you
So
see? I don't know if they've mentioned that on Three Sides, but maybe they did about Kiss should have done something similar to the Sabbath thing. Could they have really though? I mean, I think
on a smaller
maybe
scale,
a
possibly,
decade.
you
I
know.
think maybe a decade ago they could have done something like the Sphere, but I don't think they
And
could
I
have
think
done
that
something
we
like that.
don't take into account of this, ladies and gentlemen. England's smaller.
Mm-hmm.
England's more compact. England has less overall really going on than America. And so less options. And so like in Birmingham, Sabbath and Priest are like these are the biggest bands and they still are the biggest bands.
Yeah.
And so if they're going to come home that so if Kiss had gone back to say New York City, Madison Square Garden for one night and
Right.
invited bands like Anthrax and whatever and this Pantera is a band to Kiss, there
Metallica.
would be
Yeah.
there's yeah they these bands probably would have shown up and done it, and there probably could have been a pay per view. Now, would it have been as big? Probably not as big as that a soccer stadium they had in Birmingham. But Madison Square Garden was nothing to sneeze at, and they
Mm-hmm.
probably could have done that and put enough people in the seats and done it. Again, I think Paul and Gene didn't want to take on all that, nor do they see the for them the way they think. I'll just do my own show and get paid. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I
Yeah.
got my own tour. I don't need a one show. I got a whole farewell tour to say goodbye to everybody in every town and get paid while I'm doing it. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to come up with things for charities and do it. And that's great. I mean, maybe that might get Paul to do something like that. I don't know. I don't know that Gene does Gene care enough about charity to do that? I don't know. I don't know. I'll say this right now. I don't think Ace would give a fuck about a charity. He's thinking about getting paid or not getting paid, Curly. So I'm just being straight. Just different ways of doing it. And I think also they're not in a wheelchair facing what Ozzy's facing.
Right.
They're not there yet. They're not
Yeah.
on that level yet. He's
Mm-hmm.
literally probably at a spot where Oz is thinking, I may never see you guys on stage again. And
Yeah.
if that's the case, I'm doing this. If Gene or Paul was in that situation, we might hear a different story or a different thing or a
Mm-hmm.
tribute concert or something going on. But they're not. Gene's walking around playing gigs, singing Charisma like it's
Right.
1979 to my ears. So I don't see any
and
reason at
and and
75
and
he's trying to
and
stop.
covering Ace of Spades. You know.
And let's be fair, Gene will look you in the eyes and tell you the reason why that is because he didn't do drugs and alcohol. And I
Right.
can't disagree.
Right.
He didn't abuse himself that way. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why he's able to walk around and talk to you and be cognizant, and he's overall pretty healthy. And probably until a heart attack or cancer takes him out of the picture, or old, like he's 95 or some
Mm-hmm.
shit, like like just general old age. He's gonna just be there, dude. He didn't drink the booze and sniff the coke and sniff the ants and fucking shoot whiskey with Tommy, and they didn't do that.
Which
So
probably didn't even happen, really, right? I mean, come
no,
on.
but I don't think the shooting did. But I have no doubt that they
You
were
think they
sniffing coke.
snorted
I have.
ants?
Oh, I would not doubt in a haze of alcohol and cocaine,
Well, that's
Ozzy may have
yeah, it
sniffed
could have.
something,
Yeah,
thinking that
yeah,
it could have
that's
had
true.
sugar on the table, and he sniffed it with the ants in it. And oh, he's
That's
sniffing
true.
ants. I'm saying these things get bloated, and I can imagine a scene in that time with Ozzy where he was that anything was possible. Fuck, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, fuck. I mean, he could end
Uh,
up naked on top of the Empire State Building. It's just possible because he's Ozzy and he knows what the fuck
Right.
he's doing. He's blasted probably about 24/7, 365, and he had the money to do it. So, again, that kind of goes back to it. Like, people don't understand it if you've never done drugs, then Neely or Gene wouldn't understand that. But if you have ever been down that rabbit hole, you can see how someone could get to Bill Ward, where he was somewhere in LA with no pants, and he had to borrow some guy's pants because he ain't got no pants, and he woke up not know where he's at. It happens because you're fucked up.
No.
You're blacked out. You don't know where you went or where you ended up. So
Now, when we think of like really brittle divas, who's worse, Paul or Don Drunken? It's got to be Don, right?
Yeah, because he has less to be diva for.
Yeah, I mean he's like he. I mean when you look at like let's say that would be like
Raise your horns